Greetings, everyone, and welcome to America in Focus, powered by the Center Square. I'm Dan McCaleb, Chief Content Officer of Franklin News Foundation, publisher of the Center Square Newswire service. We are recording this on Friday morning, December 20th. A partial government shutdown could happen after midnight if Congress doesn't soon pass a stopgap funding measure known as a continuing resolution. U.S. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is in the hot seat after the first attempt at a continuing resolution that he negotiated with Democrats was widely criticized by President-elect Donald Trump and other Republicans for its expansive new spending and pork projects included in it. A second, scaled-back version of the continuing resolution was defeated in the House Thursday night when 38 Republicans joined all but 2 Democrats to vote against it. Joining me to discuss this is Casey Harper, Washington, D.C. Bureau Chief for the Center Square. Casey, the U.S. is more than $36 trillion in debt. Is a partial government shutdown so bad if Congress can't commit to cut spending?
You know, it's a great question, Dan, because if you think about it, the federal government as a human body or something, I mean, maybe your heart is racing too fast. You have to get the shock paddles out and reset it or something. I mean, you know, shocks like this, just like in health, are often a sign of a deeper issue. And I think that for all the headlines and the media and the firestorm, you know, this week about how Trump's governing and how Biden is not governing and is Johnson, you know, doing the right thing and all this stuff. You know, we've been through this song and dance many times, Dan. And the bigger thing, the trend that it points to is the debt is out of control. It's over 36 trillion. You know, this time next year we have this podcast, it'll be 37 or 38 trillion. Washington, D.C. is totally dysfunctional in how they pass these. They're supposed to pass, 12 appropriations bills that individually fund different parts of the government, and they can never do it. And so they just pass these kind of silly CRs. And even, the third point before I pass it back to you is Congress is so dysfunctional that they cede all of their power to the president and to the courts. I mean, the founders designed the Constitution where Congress would have most of the power. The judiciary branch would kind of do their thing, and the president, he had very limited powers, and really in time of war when he was supposed to step up. But Congress created the administrative state because they couldn't govern, and they enabled and allowed judicial review to give much of their power to the Supreme Court. So Congress is just deeply dysfunctional. The debt is out of control. And of course, there's a lot of implications we can talk about with Trump, with, Mike Johnson and his speakership and whether it's in danger, with, what the spending levels should be. But overall, this is just a sign of how broken Washington has become.
We'll come back to Johnson in a moment, Casey. Joe Biden is still the president. He's been absent from this entire conversation.
Or whatever collection of people are running the country with Biden.
Yeah. Regardless, it's almost as if President-elect Donald Trump has already taken over. And of course, we've talked a lot about this new department he's created, the Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Elon and Vivek have been very vocal about this ongoing process, too. Of course, they've been charged with cutting spending, cutting government regulations. And here Mike Johnson negotiates this expansive spending bill with Democrats. It doesn't seem like Johnson's in tune with what's going on with President-elect Trump.
It definitely comes across a little tone deaf. So much of the messaging for Republicans right now has been that Trump has a mandate. I mean, he won a major victory over Kamala Harris. He won all 7 swing states. And that's got to be Trump's message, from his perspective, is mandate, mandate, mandate. Anytime people challenge him, he says, I have the mandate. And so in a sense, he can't allow someone so early on to defy his will because it really pulls the rug out from under this idea that he has a mandate. And all presidents, kind of get these mandate windows. And who knows how long Trump's will be, but at least 100 days usually. First 100 days, the president has free reign to mostly just put his agenda in action. Now, what complicates this is the point you brought up is, hey, Trump's not in office yet. What is going on here? How is it that he's having more pull and influence than the current president, Joe Biden? I joked about the people running the country, Dan, but I'm sure you saw the bombshell Wall Street Journal article earlier this week, which interviewed several, White House aides and Democratic lawmakers, and basically said that the White House has been run by aides and by committee for a long time now, and it's getting worse. That Joe Biden has good days and bad days, and they try not to bother him too much on the bad days. And so this is really a president in decline. He's running out the clock. He's just taking a knee to run out the clock to end this game before January 20th. And so that's really created a power vacuum in the U.S., and Trump has more power than anyone right now. He's got the mandate, as I said. And Johnson, it seems tone deaf because Trump is focused so much about cutting spending. And just to give you I know this bill has changed a lot, Dan, and this is not the current state, but a continuing resolution can be 25 pages long or something, or 125 pages. I mean, not very long. But the one that Johnson first pulled out or laid out earlier this week was over 1,500 pages. So it's not like this was a normal CR that was just a little off. I mean, it was basically getting towards an omnibus spending bill that was called a CR. And I think that's what sparked a lot of the outrage. And of course, Elon Musk himself used the power of Twitter to spark a lot of outrage and get the bill killed.
And Casey, we're hearing that a third version of the continuing resolution could be voted on at some point in the House today. But regardless of that, whether there's a partial government shutdown or not, with Republicans in control of the House, Republicans in control of the Senate next year after Trump, and of course Trump in the White House after January 20th inauguration, they have the ability and the power and the opportunity to rein in government spending. I think it would be a failure if they can't figure out how to do that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they don't get these windows very often. I think with all the way that they've been talking so much about government efficiency, it seems like if it doesn't happen now, it's not going to happen for a long time. It might be 10 or 20 years before another opportunity like this comes up. And, if you look at the CBO projections for 20 years out, for instance, it's not pretty. Dan, I mean, we'll be spending more on our interest on the national debt than we spend on national defense or anything else. The interest payments on the national debt over the next 20, 30 years get really big, and it gets kind of scary. And so something needs to be done. They do have this window. I think the issue they're going to have to grapple with is some Democrats will say, sure, we'll cut spending only if you raise taxes significantly. And are Republicans going to be willing to raise taxes at all to meet Democrats in the middle and cover some of the spending? I doubt it. And the problem is with the slim majority they have in the House, and even really they don't have 60 votes in the Senate, it's going to be pretty hard to do all this without Democratic help.
Thank you for joining us today, Casey. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.